But thank you guys all for making it today. I know it's October, we're under seasonal change, market change, and one of the things that we as a group, Hajir, myself, and our team want to make sure that we're doing is helping our partners and people that we work with side by side to help get their business ready to go. And if you're waiting, like most people do, until 2019, or have that, hey, well, I'm going to do the best I can, and sometimes the best I can is results in zero. We want to make sure we're having a plan in effect to make sure you're maximizing your time, your opportunities, and helping out as many people as you can in today's market. So what I was fortunate to do is be able to get my business coach, Michael Regan, from Building Champions here, to actually go over a diagnostic of this year, 2018, as you start to set up your plan for 2019. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we miss, because I'm like, hey, I'm going to do this much. And I'm like, I have no idea where my business came from this past year, right? And so it's a really important factor in how we move forward. So Michael's been working with me for about 4 years now. He's been working with other people within Bay Equity Home Loans for years as well, and coincidentally, we just know that we're all working together. He's worked with Hajir and I. But one of the things that I really like about him, he is not a rah-rah coach guy. He's not one of the ones that are gonna come in and do the pom-poms, hey, get ready, that kind of stuff. Just to give you an idea of one of our phone calls, so we have different things that we go over twice a month. And so he has what my plan is. And so we get in the phone call, and I was basically like, no, I didn't do that. No, I didn't do that. And he goes, well, I hate to cut you short, and I don't want to make don't want to make you feel like you're getting shortchanged here. But I think we should just get off the phone, because it sounds like you have some things you need to do. Right. And the reason that he did that was my number one going back into coaching was, hey, don't let me get away with a phone call and let me direct where I want you to go with it. I have goals that I want to achieve. Make sure I'm doing it, not to just go into a next conversation. So that being said, Michael will tell you about himself a little bit, I'm sure, but he has been coaching for over 12 years, both mortgage and real estate. And I think a lot of the two coincide, because it's sales, right? And helping people out, and what is your why, those type of things. So without further ado, here's Michael Regan from Building Champions. Appreciate it, brother. I really do.
That setup is a true statement, and I want you guys to know sincerely, I stand up in front of you guys on feet of clay. I don't think I'm any better than anybody in this room, so I'm not up here to pontificate. I'm not up here to tell you why I know what's right and you need to rethink what you think is right, and I'm sure not up here to sell you on some sort of, sales pitch, rah-rah, as he said. Not my style. I tend to take things in coaching with my clients in a real methodical, black and white approach. Of course, I want to encourage them when they need it, and of course, I'll hold them accountable when they need it as well. But I prefer to look at it as, you guys are a room full of professionals. And so let's treat everybody like professionals. Let's treat everybody in this room like we're each running a business that's designed to be successful at some measurable level, profitable at some measurable level, and all we're going to try to introduce today is an opportunity to think differently about how we're going to make our plans going into the new year so that we can hope for some better results. So if I can encourage you today to do one thing, it's be curious. If your experience tells you, yeah, I've seen it all before, heard it all before, and if I'm not being too arrogant about it, I kind of know what I need to do, thanks for the salad and the sandwich, I'm good, right? That's possible. I'm going to ask you, just be curious. There may be some things that we'll look at today that truly don't hit the bullseye for you. That's okay. Look for something you can take today that really does resonate, that if you spent more time with it outside of the room, might encourage you to try something different. And if we try something different, then different results are possible. And that's really going to be my aim on this. Frank mentioned I work for Building Champions. I'm not going to stand up here and give you guys the whole backstory. Just know this. We've been coaching leaders in mortgage and real estate for 22 years. That doesn't mean we've learned everything, but it does mean we've been doing this a while and we've seen cycles. So what we're going through right now in the fall of 2018 isn't causing us to panic, but it's causing us to take it very seriously. And I hope that's what you guys are doing in your real estate business, is taking the reality that we're in right now very, very seriously. And we'll have some fun. I mean, I'm all about having a few laughs. I walked in, Frank had the Led Zeppelin going. That made me feel good. We get the mood right. we always want to have some fun, but this is an opportunity for us to really look seriously at 2019 and decide, are we going to take market share from the rest of our competitors that are not doing this today? That's the mindset. It's an opportunity to start thinking 2019 while they're thinking holidays. Just finish this year. Just get another closing on the books. That's what they're thinking. They're thinking pumpkin spice latte. I want you guys thinking, I'm ready to crush it in 2019. And if that's what you want to do, we're going to show you some things that I hope will help with that. Look, I threw my name and my email address up there. I'm doing that up front just so that in the event that you want to ask more questions, because I'm sure I won't cover everything you wanted to cover today, I want to give you an outlet to reach out to me. I think Garrett's thrown my social media up there. I realize that screen is small, so you're not going to see everything, but it tells you where my social links are so you can find out more about my company and what we do. And if you're taking notes, you can find it at coachmichaelregan.com. And it's R-E-G-A-N. Not that there's anything wrong with R-E-A, just R-E-G-A-N. You got it. So I'm going to ask a question. And I realize it's a bit of a hot potato, but again, I trust you guys are pros. Aside from a lunch and your love for these guys in this office, why are you here today? And I'd like to hear from a few.
There's a prize at the very end.
The prize at the end. Man, we are starting off with the top shelf. I love it. All right, so I'll throw lunch out there. Prize, that could be the wine. Okay, got it. Why else? Why did you come today? Please.
I have big goals and I want to reach them.
Big goals. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I'm going to grab him.
Curious about your take on coaching.
Okay, just learning about coaching. Got it? All right, my friend.
It's kind of a brain trust on the market shifting and how that sort of impacts.
So
us.
this kind of collaborative environment. Got it. Got it. Love that. Couple more. Yeah, I'll grab this and then there.
I would like to have a plan for 2019 and
Let's get a plan. Perfect. I saw a hand in the back.
To improve my business plan for next year, kind of fine tune it, make it more specific.
Okay, so I'll just put improve the plan. Perfect. And by the way, when I do this, I just need to tell you guys, that's not because you're not speaking loud. That whole Led Zeppelin thing is for real. I am as deaf as a doornail. I mean, all that heavy metal as a kid, it did me in. So I'll try to do my best to speak up, but that's just because I want to make sure I hear everything. All right, a couple more. A lot of people in the room. Yes?
Just to get another perspective.
Perspective. Love that. I'll throw that up top just so I don't have to stretch. And one more. Yes, sorry.
You know, these guys are going to do well, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of the economy. So I want to know what they're up to so I could not necessarily follow, but go along.
Learn from some of the best.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
I'm good with that. How about me too? Seriously. I look forward to learning from you guys. That's a fair statement.
Make more money.
Can we throw that up there too? Is that a bad one? Okay. Okay. So I realize I'm writing in block letters on a pad in the front of the room, so it may not be clear to everybody, but I'll read them off, right? This is what I like to call desired end result. It's a military term. I don't know if I love it as a term, but think of it as like, what does a win look like? Like if I'm gonna come today, spend a couple hours out of my day with this team in this office, I hope I leave with perspective, a plan for 2019, maybe to improve the one I'm already working on. Lunch, it's not a bad thing to grab. A prize, somebody is gonna win that bottle of wine today. I have no idea who, and don't think I'm in on the fix. I don't know. Garrett's probably the guy you wanna talk to, he may know. We wanna work on some big goals. We wanna learn a little bit about, is coaching voodoo, or can it really help? Like, can we do something with it? There's a brain trust in this room. I already heard that from Frank when we set this up. Unless you guys are going to debate this with me, he said these are some of the best real estate professionals in our Orange County area. Okay, so I'm looking forward to learning from you guys. And why not? I mean, if we're going to do this, why not find a way to make a little more money? Nobody's in this because we're in a nonprofit. We're here to earn a living and to see that grow. And last I checked, I spend a little bit of time in Orange County. Cost of living keeps going up, so earning a little more is not a bad thing to do. So this is a little bit of our why in the room. And as I looked at all of this, I asked a different question. So we're here. Who in this room, as I look at some of this, who wants to get better? Does anybody want to get better next year? I realize that's sort of a softball, right? For most of the clients I work with, that's going to be a true statement. I'm privileged to work with people like Frank, okay? People who invest in themselves, who invest in their business, invest in their partners, and they want to get better. So that's who I get to work with. I generally work with people like you guys. But I've learned that if I only focus on their behaviors, in other words, what are you doing? What aren't you doing? Like behavioral stuff. If all we focus on is behaviors, we tend to get some results from that, but they don't tend to be as lasting. And it's because most companies, most coaching companies, most companies that work with professionals are focused on behaviors, and we tend to focus as much on beliefs as we do behaviors. Because if we don't get the inside right, if we don't get your belief that you can be better, and we don't understand the answer to why, if we don't really get to that, the risk is we can coach you through how to set up your time block, how to execute on your plan, how to be accountable to your plan. All of that's possible. That's all behavioral modification. I want to get to the heart of what my clients believe about the market, believe about their company, believe about themselves, and get really good at improving that, because guess what I find? For most really professional people I get to work with, when you get the belief right, the behaviors just tend to follow. They don't need a whole lot of me holding their hand or lighting little fires under their tails, because they're pros. They didn't just fall off the turnip truck. Sorry, I'm from the Midwest. These are goofy things you'll hear me say today. They didn't just drop into this business and they don't know what they're doing. They're actually already really good at it. But something is causing a block. So my question for you is around mindset. I don't know how many of you study mindset or if you're familiar with the term. One of my favorite authors on the subject is Dr. Carol Dweck. Anybody ever read her book? Okay, I throw out books. It's not because I get paid to sell books, but gosh, I love learning from people who are way smarter than me. Dr. Carol Dweck, D-W-E-C-K. Carol is a professor at the Stanford University. Sorry, Trojan fan, I didn't pick it, that's just where she is. She's at Stanford. That's all right. I'm an ASU guy, so I don't really have any love for Stanford or USC. It's all good. Carol talks about the two different kinds of mindset. And I think you see this when you look around the real estate community, whether you're looking at homeowners or some of your partners or maybe some of your peers. You will see two types of mindset. Generally, you will see either a fixed mindset or what she calls a growth mindset. Now, most of us naturally shift into a fixed mindset as a reactive mechanism. It's normal. When something happens, our minds immediately go to some version of protecting or complying, right? There's some version of a fixed mindset where our mind puts things into black and white and says, well, this is either right or wrong. Well, next year I'm either going to win or lose. It's either going to be success or fail. That's all fixed mindset. Carol talks about how to make the shift to a growth mindset. A growth mindset says, well, it's not always win or lose. It's what are you learning when you think you're losing? And how do those lessons actually make you better? And that mindset carries forward in all kinds of different places. I'm not here to upsell her book. Go read it. It's fantastic. If you're struggling with a growth mindset, with the market contracting the way it is, opportunities may be all around you, but you're not sure how to grab them. Things are moving fast. You see the opportunity for all these things. I didn't see anybody on here saying retire or give up, we're not talking about hitting the exit ramp, but you guys may need a boost, because if your mindset, imagine all your peers and you have a similar skill set. If your mindset is around opportunity when theirs is around scarcity, don't tell me who I'm going to put my bet on. I'm going to put it on the one who believes they can get better. So Garrett helped me tee this up. Garrett, you're going to find out whether or not my technical abilities are going to work. I'm going to play a short clip for you guys. All right, so let's get this one out of the way. Who's ready to sign up for some coaching? Yeah, Frank's like, Dang, that's how I feel on our coaching calls. You're like banging on the floor. Come on.
How much do you weigh?
Yeah, right. A little more than 160 these days. Guys, I'm not trying to dramatize it, but let's look at that for a second. This kid on that team had a fixed mindset. You couldn't hear the beginning of the clip. We were getting it set up. By the way, let's give a little applause to my brother here who got us going. Thank you. His first reaction was, we can't beat him. And if we go into this year thinking we can't beat him, what are the consequences of that? What are the consequences of that mindset? What that coach helped him do was find an ability that was, the coach knew was within him, to flip that mindset, to see a growth mindset. And did you see that team when he got across the 50 and kept grinding, and one by one they start popping up? What are they starting to do? They're starting to believe. Maybe we can beat them. I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it. Guys, belief is such a huge deal in this business. There are so many people in this business that are good at what we do, right? We've got lots of professionals out there. I'm not worried about whether or not you guys are competing with pros or not. I want to know, do you believe that you can be better? I'll tell you why I'm here today. This is a lot of why you're here today. You know why I'm here today? To give my very best to Frank and Hajir and this team, because they want to invest in you. They believe in you, they want to invest in you, and they believe when you're better and they're better, the value to your local market is better. Your client's experience is better. Home ownership in Orange County is better when we're all better. They believe in it. So I'm here to give my very best. That clip is just designed to get us in the right frame of mind for what we're going to do today. Let me give you a really brief agenda, right? We'll keep it to 3 points. I don't know why, because it's always magical if it's 3 points. It's always a 3-point play. We're going to introduce the way we do business planning. And I'm telling you that up front because I don't think the way we do it is the only way. I don't think it's necessarily like, somehow, some way more magical than anything you've ever done before with business planning. But I will tell you this, if you've ever been a little bit hesitant to focus on business planning, it's probably because, like me, you've been taught by somebody who's maybe, from Harvard or Stanford, and it involves like spreadsheets, pie charts, graphs, a PowerPoint, a binder this thick, and it's so daunting that by the time you finish that thing, you never want to look at it again. I'm going to take a little bit different approach. That's going to be number one. Number two, I'm going to make sure that these resources that Frank gave you guys when you walked in on the clipboards, I'm going to make sure you have time to actually use them today. So instead of me talking about how to use them later or what they could look like for you, I'm actually going to give you the gift of a little bit of your time today to invest in it now, to start working with these tools. There'll be way more we can do with them than we'll get done in a lunch and learn today. So I promise, in case anyone's thinking, oh no, am I stuck here till 5? I got good news, I have a 6 o'clock flight, so that's not possible. And I don't really have a desire to wear you guys out, but I do want to give you guys a thorough overview and a chance to actually work on this so you can start to see a little bit differently how this approach might help you get excited about planning. And I want you to leave with a deep review of 2018 before you plan for 19. Just what Frank said when we were teeing this thing up. I believe most people, if they are honest about it, go into the planning process very aspirationally. Well, I did this last year, I'm going to do double that next year. Do you have double the people, double the money, or double the time? Because if you don't, tell me exactly how you're going to do that. Because you're going to need to get double better fast if you don't. I really want to help people chunk this down. Make it a mathematical problem we're going to solve, and then a discipline problem that we need to solve, and then a commitment problem that we need to solve, and then an accountability problem that we need to solve. I'm not making light of Frank's example, but hey, I'm not here to hold you accountable to anything that you don't want to hold yourself accountable to. I have no desire to should all over you guys. So just know that this is not me projecting. It's going to be me helping you get oriented to what do you really want. And I expect with 20 some odd people in the room, there's probably 20 some odd different answers to that. I'm not going to play with my phone while we're here, but I do want to read something that I read every morning. I try to read a little bit of Housing Wire and other news reports because they help me orient to what I call, number one, current reality. Okay, current reality. So if Frank and I were having a coaching call today, we'd be talking about these facts, right? One of our clients up in the Seattle market was actually the person reporting on this, that a recent report now is showing that a drop in new home sales and existing home sales, while prices continue to rise, is creating some confusion in some of our markets. And I say some because let's be perfectly honest, there is no housing market. There's lots of them, even right here in Orange County. But generally speaking, that's true. However, your National Association of Realtors and one of the national groups in the mortgage lending industry that just met last week did an exhaustive survey in which they believe that the housing market will continue to generally improve over the next 6 months. So number one, please don't believe all the negative news because it'll contribute to a fixed mindset. Be a carrier of a balanced approach. Bring some of the good news into the mix because the data's there to support it if you're willing to go research it every day and find it. Number two, interest rates are going to continue to rise in 2019. I know I'm like Nostradamus up here. It's just hard to believe I can predict this future. It's a fact. If you're not listening to these guys, pay attention to exactly what they're trying to give you because they're giving you good information about where rates are going. Is that a bad thing or a good thing? Well, the answer is it depends. Remember, when rates are moving, affordability becomes a very real issue for people, especially if prices aren't lagging yet. So when you get into a strong housing value environment with a rising rate environment and affordability is shrinking, guess what you need? You need to get really focused on that opportunity for buyers. Because the opportunity creates a sense of urgency, because that's the data that you can show them. Work with your friends here on this, and they'll help you get some of that together. The trend's not going to change. They're predicting about 1/8 of a rate every quarter for the next 4 quarters. So do the math. We've already come pretty near on average. I know everybody wants to talk about rate as a leading topic. I'm not a big fan of this. By the way, I know how to get a 0% interest rate. I just put 100% down, and I can get the lowest rate out there. There's always a rate out there if somebody wants to sell it. It's what's in the rate. So don't let people fool you guys with the low rate conversation when rates are going up. Oh, we can get low rates. Well, of course you can. Do you know what they're called in the mortgage industry? Little inside secret here. They're called discount points. Isn't that the dumbest thing you've ever heard of? In every other area of life that we live in, a discount is a good thing. When consumers hear a discount point, they're like, great, I can get 2 of them, I'll take both. Discount point is called cost. They're paying for it. So when your customers are out there saying, well, we found a way to get low rates, make sure you're letting them run that scenario by someone who's showing them the total cost of that rate, because total cost matters. But that's a current reality. People are going to be dealing with that. One more. If we see this is going to be a buyer's market, guess what else we're seeing right now, right here, right now? A ton of lenders out there trying to raid home equity. Have you guys started to see this in Orange County? Cash out refinance messages, going galore. And it's some of the craziest stuff I've ever heard of. I mean, I literally have watched national lenders post ads for, big banks. Take the equity out of your home. It's time for that vacation you deserve. Now, I realize I'm from Oregon, but I don't smoke wacky tobacco. That is some bad advice. But that's what these people are hearing. And guess what? Once they hear it, the wheels start turning. They sit at the kitchen table, like people do, and they talk about it. And they may not want to take their home equity out and do something really dumb with it, but you know what they will be saying? Maybe it's time to move. And who are they going to need when that decision starts rolling in their heads? So let's start thinking about some of these opportunities as we approach this, because I really do think that's today's current reality. You guys tell me, what are some other, and I'll make note of this, what are some other current reality opportunities you see right now here in Orange County? I want to hear from the room. Remember, we talked about a brain trust. Let's see if that Let's all participate in that.
I think we're gonna see more expired and canceled listings from, knucklehead agents that overpriced and undermarketed homes throughout Orange County.
So let's truncate that to expired.
Expired and canceled.
Okay, that's one reality. Okay. What else do we see? Yeah, please.
Professionals market. A professionals market where you have people just jumping in the market because a lot of people haven't seen a balanced market since 2002.
You mean the guys like us with authentic gray hair here might actually prove to be valuable in this market? That's good. All right, what else? I saw another hand up. What else is taxes? Tell me. I think I know what you mean. Expand on that. What are we going to?
Interest deductions, Proposition 5.
Got it.
1031 exchange, 68. Different.
No points for spelling there. All right. So a lot of consequences from changes in tax law, deductibility. There's issues. That's fair. What else?
Tons of agents going out of business.
A lot of agents going out of business. Okay, so general contraction, right? By the way, fellas, same true for mortgage lending industry, right? So contraction, it's going to happen for all of us. By the way, has happened before. And by the way, when Frank says I'm not a rah-rah guy, I know some guys like to get up here and say, oh, so those guys can go back and get their jobs back at Home Depot. Hey, I don't think anybody's in this business who didn't try to be in this business, because if you made it through 2007 to 2009, I really do believe we've weeded the jokers out. But you're right, there's going to be a whole nother layer of people that just look ahead and say, let me up, I've had enough. I'm not ready to get better. Couple more. What else do we see in Orange County?
Stock market and political climate, maybe.
Okay, so I'll get both of those down. We may or may not have a candidate in the room. That's a different subject. So we got political climate. But Hajir, I want to get to yours, but the other was?
Put stock market.
Oh, got it. So, and can I add bond to that? Because I think both of those play into changes. Okay. Hajir, sorry, I know you had your hand up. Go ahead, buddy.
Divorce rate in Orange County is 72%.
What is it?
Is it really?
72%.
72%.
Love is in the air.
This is me with my eyes wide open, not writing anything down because I'm still shocked at what you're telling me. So seriously, we're having a skyrocketing divorce rate.
Keep them.
That's reality. Okay. I don't know how to add that. Yeah, one more. That's great.
I think on the buy side of things, there's so much buyer frustration out there because they're not getting their offers accepted. It's just I meet a lot of buyers that are just super frustrated because they can't afford, what the market's offering, and they can't figure out how to work with a realtor to get that price down or negotiator.
Yeah, the last year and a half has created a lot of that emotional apathy for people because it's been hard.
The seller greed's high, and the buyer affordability's a couple ticks below.
So I'm gonna call that just buyer apathy or buyer exhaustion. What do you want?
It's buyer apathy.
Got it.
Coupled with the buyer expectations are outside of what they can really truly afford.
Yeah.
Say that again. Expectations.
The buyer expectations are above what they can afford and what they want. Yet they feel that that's their bare minimum. Like the HGTV, I have to have granite. You don't have to have granite. That is a
Gray and white.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of misguided. Yeah. Imagine what's out there on Google. Lots of information.
Yeah. Finally, we don't have the good prices for homes.
So affordability or home prices in particular.
The home prices will adjust perfect, which is the best thing that could happen to this.
Okay, so how do you want me to capture that one?
Well, the way you want it. What I'm trying to say is this. Now, the prices are we're still going through what we had before, which is
Normal
somebody sells
pricing?
a house, $1 million, his neighbor wants $1.025 million, $1.050 million. So now it's going to stop. And everybody will not look at his property as a money maker, maybe actually what it is worth in the market. Finally, the sellers will come to that, and the agent will actually be more valuable, real estate agent will be more valuable to the clients rather than the seller dictates what he wants to sell it for, and the agent says, okay, well, it's not worth it in your mind, but okay, we'll put it in, we'll see what happens. And this will adjust. This needs to be adjusted because it has been not done for some time.
So that gap closes and we can actually start adding value again.
Exactly.
Perfect.
We'll add value, plus the lenders are going to work the programs.
Mhm.
There will be more programs coming in, which I predict. That there will be
Let's add
more
that.
loans that will be coming down that will be favorable to buyers. They don't have to put the 20% down. They're going to bring the credit scores down. So the bankers and the lenders will find a way to get the buyers from the pool that's available for them. So you find now they're using different methods of lending,
So
which is helpful.
yeah,
to buyers.
we're starting to see that shift for
Yes,
sure.
yeah, and you'll see more. I mean, next, in the beginning of 2019, there'll be whole different programs coming in. They're working on them now, and the results will be so. So some people will just be perfect. They'll find the right house with the right price, with the right loan, and they don't have to go jump through hoops.
This guy drives right down the middle of the road. He is just like, hey, we're right where we need to be.
Exactly.
I like it.
And I think that's, when you read now about the 6 months coming in,
Yeah.
I believe that. I believe the market is great. I mean, I really never had
That's
a
what the
problem.
surveys are saying.
I
I think
never
you wrote the
doubted
survey.
it. I never read it, but I never doubted because I've been doing this. My best years when the market was down, when everybody was not selling or buying. So this market is just perfect. It's really adjusting itself.
Ladies and
if you-
gentlemen,
if you watch
a growth mindset.
no, I mean,
No, I'm not making light of it.
yeah,
I'm
no,
saying that's a great
This is what I
example.
feel. I sit down in meetings and everybody says, "Oh, the interest rate." I predict it's going to be about 6% when they're going to calm down. But that's perfect. Six. I took a loan, which I tell my clients, at 17.5% when I bought my property. 17.5%. So when they cry over 5 or 6, I say, look, I don't care. Cry. I paid 17.5. So I'm not hearing you. So let's sit down and deal with the facts. And that's how, it's good for real estate agent what's going on. For real estate agents.
I'm liking the way you're approaching it. All right, we're going to come to that. I want to hear one more here.
My wine now? Is that okay?
We better get this.
I just want my wine.
Yeah, I'm moving this back, Garrett. We got to make sure that. All right, it's all good. Thank you. I know you had one more.
Oh yeah, the discount brokerages out there.
Okay. So. Frank, you guys had to deal with some discount lenders? Yeah, just a little? Yeah. Make sure, in the spirit of, by the way, how many of you guys participate? Frank, how often do you host your collaborative calls? Every Monday. That's a real good opportunity for Brain Trust, and I say this not to pitch it. I don't know exactly how many seats are open. You guys can talk later with Frank and Najir, but here's what I know is a lot of what we're going through is a lot more parallel than it's ever been. Okay, it used to be that as lenders we lagged behind you guys, like technology, teams, you name it. Lenders were always kind of, because we had all this goofy, archaic mindset, frankly, that that wasn't prepared. But now the balance is there, and a lot of the things you're dealing with, you're dealing with. It's a lot less of a blurred line. And this Brain Trust thing, the more collaboration we're doing with each other, having these kind of conversations, the better, because what you're talking about here, who do lenders know what that looks like? Okay, let me ask this question. If I came back 3 years from today, so here we are, fall of 2018. So literally get your mind around 2021 for a second. If I came back in 2021 and we were to look back to this day and we were to ask ourselves, what happened during that 3-year period that left you really, really happy with your results? Okay, I'm going to say it again. I just spelled it slowly. So if I come back 3 years from today and I ask you, what has to have happened? Remember when we met 3 years ago? Yeah. What happened during that 3-year period that left you really happy with your results? Think and write that down somewhere in your notes, because something in the next 3 years, if you choose to make it happen is going to be the answer to that question. So what would have to happen for you to be really happy with your results? And someone's going to say, well, do you mean personally or professionally? Yes. What has to have happened in your world in the next 3 years for you to be really happy with your results? Just take a minute. Here's why I ask you to write it down, okay? This isn't some, gimmick to try to get you to do what I asked. Our brains are optimized for thinking and decision making. Go look at the physiology of the way your brain works. It's not designed as a storage device, okay? So contrary to the myth of that blurred line that the computer industry introduced to those of us with gray hair back in the 60s, when that term multitasking first showed up, you guys familiar with the term, right? We got raised, I say we, I assume all of us are similar. We got raised in a culture that embraced the idea of multitasking as an asset, until further brain science down the road proved that our brains don't actually do that. We got fed a lie. It was Intel back in the 60s when a microprocessor wasn't micro, it was like a mainframe. It filled a room like this. And they started figuring out how to take those and chunk them down. Half the size, double the speed, half the size, double the speed. Anybody know Moore's Law? That's Moore's Law. That's how they were able to predict the future of microprocessing at Intel, and that's why they've made gajillions over the last 4 decades. Because they just figured out the math. They knew their numbers, they ran the math, and they projected it forward. They knew how to do it. But somewhere, Madison Avenue picked up on that concept of multitasking, the processor that can do multiple tasks at the same time, and they applied it to a totally different audience. In the 70s, they started applying it to moms. Do you remember this ad? She brings home the bacon and
Fries it up in a pan.
somebody remembers, thank you. It's all good. I just appreciate the participation. We got fed a diet of information that was misinformation. We were told a successful mom in the 70s was a multitasker. And guess what? She and their family raised kids to all embrace the idea of multitasking. And now, thankfully I put that thing down. We live on these devices and we are rats on a wheel. We are so overstimulated by information. It's crazy. We weren't supposed to multitask. We were supposed to move really quickly from one task to another. So your brain, the reason I have you write these things down, is actually optimized for thinking and decision making, not for storage. So in my computer analogy, make paper or a document on your computer like when you take your hard drive and you put it on an external hard drive, so you get all the photos off your computer. What happens? Your PC suddenly runs way faster again. It gets bogged down when it's got too much information. And that's what we're going to do with today's plan. We're actually going to write things down because we want to optimize your brain for thinking and decision making, not storing all this stuff. So please do not tell me how good you are at memorizing my plan. It's okay to write it down so you can actually be even better at doing something with that information. What's it going to take to be successful in 2019? I started thinking about this as I'm working with clients, and here are 3 things that I think. Again, I don't have to be right, and there are probably 100 we could come up with, but I want this to start greasing the wheel. Number 1 is I'm really amazed when I look at the opportunity we have with all of these things going on to really get better with our unique value proposition. I think it's a lost art, and I want to encourage you guys to, if you're going to make a plan for 2019, make sure you know your purple cow. Everybody know the purple cow? No. I got one nodding head. Okay, Seth Godin fan. Seth Godin wrote a book, I don't know, probably a decade ago called The Purple Cow. It was, the audience for it, by the way, was for marketing and branding. And here was the story of the purple cow. It's the story of a husband and wife driving through the German countryside on the Autobahn. And as they're clearing a hill, they see this amazing pasture full of cattle. And they stop and they take a picture. It's just amazing. And then they drive along a little further, clear another hill, another pasture, another mountain range, another herd of cattle. After about an hour of clearing these mountain ranges, the wife turns to the husband and said, "It's so incredible, I'm numb to it. It would just about take a purple cow for me to stop and take another picture." Now, an hour ago, this was the most amazing thing she'd ever seen. Folks, if we're not purple cows, I'm sorry, but the audience just says we're realtors. If there's not something about you that's distinguishing enough to stand out in a whole herd of other realtors or loan originators with other lenders or coaches with other trainers and coaches, like if we don't do something that creates a unique value proposition, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how good you are. Your audience will be too small to grow in this contracting market. You're going to have to get out there. Bad joke, I know, but again, I have a few of them. Okay, if you think you have a UVP, and you might, like I'm not making light of this. If you do, but you don't have a mechanism for getting it out there, it's like me winking at my wife in the dark. I know I'm doing it, but she doesn't have a clue what's going on. Your UVP is not good enough if you don't have a vehicle in which to get it out there. If you don't have some mechanism. So when we get into this mindset of review and plan, number one, please sharpen your UVP. Because if you're not a little bit different than your competition, I'm sorry, but it's not you, it's the audience. We're just too distracted. We live in this crazy ADD world. Number two, I want you to consider the need to diversify your lead sources. Whatever you've been doing to get leads up to this point, don't stop it. So the message isn't stop it, the message is diversify it. I'll give you some examples. If right now you work with a lender and get some referrals, and you work with, all kinds of, let's just say you're in a networking group and you've got all kinds of available referral sources, like, okay, that kind of example. Consider whether or not you've done the math to determine how much time and energy am I spending, and I'll show you a tool we can do this with later if that's helpful to you, but how much time am I spending with these people for how many actual leads, for how many actual contractual opportunities, I can talk, and how many closings. If we don't know those key things, and there's lots of other steps we could track, but if we don't know those, it's possible that where you think the strength in your referral sources is misguided. It's possible, because I believe the lie. I'm a people person by nature, so do you know who I think my favorite referral partners are? My favorite people. They're the people I like. Oh, Frank's great. He gives me at least, 10 leads a month. Great, 10 leads a month, 12 months a year. Should be 120 leads, right? Yeah, we closed 5 last year. Do you know Frank's your worst lead source? Frank wastes a ton of your time. All right, we'll pick a different example. Hey, all joking aside, you gotta know those numbers if you're gonna know how to diversify your referral sources. Because it's possible right now you believe your best referral sources are your favorite people. And I'm all for favorite people. I don't want to work with anybody I don't like. But I also want to work with people I like that are demonstrating. You know what the word partner means to me? This gets overused in our businesses, both of ours. We say, oh, we're partners. You know what a partner is? A mutually beneficial business relationship. Sometimes it's time, sometimes it's money, sometimes it's referral, sometimes it's a lot of different things that it can be, but it's mutually equitable, mutually beneficial. If it's not, then you don't have a partner, you just have an occasional referral source. That's okay, but call it that and deal with the fact that you may need to diversify and find some new partner sources, because it's going to take more. You may need to find some more time to dig back into your database. You know, this home equity we're talking about? Hey, people are going to make choices. Are you going to be in the mix when they're talking about what they're going to do in their next buy sell? Time to step up, time to step down, time to move to a different school district, move closer to work because the commute's terrible. Whatever their reason is, are you going to be in that mix because you're actually staying in touch with them? And please, I'm not don't cancel your CRM, but if you think you're staying in touch because they're on an email drip campaign, shoot me now. Who wants another email in their inbox from you with a canned newsletter? Who wants that? That's not keeping in touch with a relationship. That's just visibility. That's what we used to call a billboard on the highway. That's just your name and your logo staying in front of them. Great, do it, but that's not good enough if you want to capture purchase business out of your database. You've actually got to call these people. You've actually got to keep in touch. You actually have to remember what you talked about last time. You have to care about them. Yeah.
What's your take on, video marketing to clients? Do you like that idea?
Do you want me to answer my personal opinion, or do you want me to tell you what I think is happening?
Both.
Both.
Yes and yes.
Sorry.
I teed that up. I probably set myself up for that.
Like I know realtors, for example, that'll at night they'll think about people and be like, hey, it's
That's not what we want to talk
Yeah.
about tonight.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you a short answer, and then this will be a good one to have an offline conversation on, because I don't want to be pro or con without context. But I do think this. Just like I think social media for a long time was an opportunity to create visibility, and then at some point we jumped the shark. Sorry, these are old 70s references. Fonzie, he jumped the shark, yeah. And suddenly Happy Days wasn't cool anymore. Facebook is one of those. YouTube right now is the place to be. Like, get your videos out there. Just know that at some point it's oversaturation, it's overstimulation, it's too much information. So my answer to that is, if it's authentic, I like it a lot. So like if I will use Frank in a positive context instead of you being my negative example. So if I want to give a call to Frank tomorrow, but instead of just picking up the phone, I decide to hold up my iPhone and say, Frank, hey, it's Michael, and I voicemail my video and I text it to him. I love that. That's authentic. And it's creative. Not everybody's doing it. Problem is, it won't be creative a year from now when everybody's doing it. There's more to talk about with that one. I'm not against video at all. I just want to say be careful. Because remember, you want to be a purple cow. When everybody's got the same video delivered on the same platform, you're not a purple cow. You're just another noisy realtor. I love you, but you're a noisy realtor, because I can be a noisy lender, right? We got to be careful. That's my point. So be a purple cow, diversify your lead sources. Here's number 3. We've got to identify our necessary endings. Another book reference. Dr. Henry Cloud. Anybody read Cloud before? A few of us? By the way, Boundaries for Leaders is my favorite book by him. But this book, Necessary Endings, talks in chapter 2, I believe, don't quote me on that, about the art of pruning. Anybody ever heard this one? All right, I got a couple nodding heads. Pruning just means in every healthy business, we have a mechanism in which we are regularly eliminating. In fact, my favorite author on this topic, now that I say it out loud, is Greg McKeown, who wrote a book called Essentialism. I sent it to Frank, and I love it. It's maybe the most clear and concise book on the topic I've seen. But Cloud's topic tells the story of a gardener. And I'm not, anybody here a gardener? Because right now you're, okay. Call me out on my mistakes. Please, call me out on them. But his example of the gardener is using the rose bush. So imagine your business is like a rose bush, and we're going into your database, right? And we're going into your process, the way you execute today. He says there's 4 kinds of branches on this rose bush. Number 1 are the dead ones. Easiest one to prune. So if you've got anything dead in your business right now, this is the time right now to cut it. Do you have a question on that? Cut it. I like it. Cut it. I thought you started telling me, like, just cut it. We got the point. Move on to the next one. Trim the dead branches. I don't know if it's people on your team. I don't know if it's products, process. I don't know what it is, but if it's dead, it goes. The second branch, he says, you've got to get good at pruning if you're going to grow the plant, are the dying branches. You got to get really good at recognizing the ones that are dying. Like my example of, oh yeah, my favorite, Susie there. We'll use Susie because we don't know who she is. Susie, my favorite referral source, who sends me all kinds of leads and I get no closings because she's keeping me busy with all kinds of junk because she doesn't do a great job of identifying whether this is really the kind of person we should be working with because she's not a real partner. That's a dying branch. There may be a lot of activity. There's not a lot of profitability, which means I'm at risk because that's time and I've only got so much of it to give. Cut the dying branches. The third one, this is going to kill you. I promise. You're going to hate it. There are certain branches in the plant, just like in your business, that are taking a disproportionate amount of energy away from the plant in order to stay alive. Somebody just thought of a person on their team. I'm looking for eye contact. Okay, I know who's thinking of it. Their heads are down. Somebody's got a process that they know takes way too much energy to keep it alive. Think about your business and be willing to do these things. Are these the only 3 things? Be a purple cow, diversify your lead sources, identify necessary endings. I'm not sure if they're the only 3, but they're 3 pretty fundamental ones. If you can do those things, if you can really develop a unique value proposition and get really good at getting it out there, I promise you your opportunities are going to be better in the new year. If you can figure out how to diversify your lead sources and find other means through referral partners, database, or how about even some consumer direct? We didn't even talk about that yet. Really getting directly at consumers instead of buying leads. There's some opportunities there. And if you can figure out how to prune so you can create margin again in your life, so that your plate isn't getting full, you're actually narrowing down the things that aren't working to focus on the things that are, I think we've got some opportunity. I want to take a look at my tool, but I saw a hand go up and I don't want to miss it.
Yeah, what was the book that you were talking about?
I've said so many books, I'm crazy. Yeah, so Necessary Endings is the book on pruning. Dr. Henry Cloud wrote that. The Purple Cow that I mentioned is Seth Godin, but it made me think of another book I'm a big fan of by Greg McKeown called Essentialism. I think I've referenced all 3 of those. If I'm wrong, Garrett, you'll tell me. The tape will tell us the truth later. We'll know. All right, I want to take a look at the tool because I've given you a tool that I think is a really good way to get in this mindset of planning. And in this document, we've got a series of 20 questions and then a tool that we're going to work forward with. But I've got mine here. If you flip it open, there's plenty of instruction here that we can talk about. But let's just acknowledge here on what's print page number 3 that we need to look back before we plan forward. A couple of my tools for looking back involve a calendar, involving my current year business plan, and involve my numbers. So let me say right up front, I know you don't have all of those here with you, but I would write those down that as you go back to this and dig deeper, pull out your calendar. Let's actually see what the evidence of this year said based on where you spent your time. Pull out your plan. What did you already say you were going to do that you either did or didn't do? So we know what we're going to keep, start, or stop in the new year. And pull out your numbers. Track all of those data points that matter, not just your closings, all of the data points, leads, number of contract presentation opportunities, everything. Like really look at the numbers so we know those, because those are going to help us plan to be better. And I'd like you to spend, I'm not keeping a watch. Garrett, what time do we have back here?
12:23.
Perfect. So let's give this about 15 minutes. And I'm going to give you an opportunity. I want you to go through these first 20 questions while we're sitting here and start thinking about your answers to these questions and take some time to get yourself set up for 2019. And I'd like to talk a little bit about these. So take some time, starting with page 3, and let's work through the next few pages. And I'm going to then take you into our planning tool. Everybody good? I know, right now, somebody's thinking, oh, I didn't sign up for this. This is work. It's exactly like the death crawl. We've got to do the hard work if we're going to be better next year. Take 15 minutes. By the way, a couple of comments. Keep writing, but a couple of comments. One is, I don't expect you to go deep right now. Just get familiar with the tool, so you're going to be able to come back and dig into this. Second one is, when you get to number 15, the question is going to be around your team. Building Champions is our team. So when you read your contribution to Building Champions, change that to your team. Guys, I want to honor our clock. But here's the beauty of what just happened even in 10 minutes when I said I would give you 15. you're starting to think about things right now and write down some answers that probably very few of your competitors are actually doing. They're just going to run into the new year with a lot of energy without reflecting. And as I look through these, there are lots of questions that matter. In fact, I would make the case that if you want better answers, you've got to ask better questions. And some of these are designed to just get your mindset framed, but some of them are really key. Question number 10 asks you, what are the top 3 things that bring you the most energy or the most enjoyment? I have to tell you, in UVP, as you go through that exercise of figuring out how to communicate yours, I've been coaching people since I've been coaching Little League, 25 years. The players that do best are the ones where we leverage their natural skills and we give them the opportunity to play to their strengths. The players that we work on their weaknesses never get as much ROI for that time as the ones who leverage their strengths. The takeaway isn't don't get better at your weaknesses. The takeaway is always invest more in your natural strengths because they're part of what make you uniquely you. Quit trying to be somebody you're not and be average. Be somebody you are and be untouchable. Be the best you. The answers you put in here should be a big part of that. By the way, the next one, number 11, what are the 3 things that physically or mentally drain you? This exercise might have been one of them. As you go through this, please give yourself permission to say, I'm going to let go of things that just aren't working for me, that aren't bringing me the energy back that I need to be successful going into the kind of year we talked about already. And there's lots of things in here that are going to matter, but I tell you what, as you get to the 18th and 19th question, I added a number 20 because it's the same question I wrote up here. Get really clear on why you love this business and make sure you've got a really clear statement of why do I love my job? Why do I love what I do? Because when you're really clear on your why, it's going to make, just like that kid doing the death crawl, it's going to make your daily grind when it's tough, because it gets hard, it gets really hard, and you've got to find it within you, and the why is going to tell you why you're getting out of bed that morning and you're making those calls and you're going to do that hard work to be successful, because I saw lots of positive opportunities here. Flip with me and let's look ahead. On page 10, the document's going to reframe where you might focus your energy in the year ahead. I'd like to challenge you to go through these questions to set up this plan. Everything up until now has been a way to sort of reflect on the past year. Then you're going to pivot and look ahead. And you really want to identify, where are you going to focus? Where is your UVP going to be? Where are you going to focus lead diversification if you believe that you need to do that? Where are you going to prune if you believe you need to do that? And go through these tough questions to set this up. There's another set of them there. You're going to do this offline later. And trust me, I know some of you will do that. You'll set up the time. Others of you will be like, too much thinking. We're gonna capitalize on this market, guys. It's not that hard. And when you get to page 13, we're going to actually develop the plan. That's the move to action. And I'd like to show you the document that we're going to do that on next. So if you have that packet, you'll see a graphic called a simple business plan. It's a standalone sheet. I think it's right behind this packet. Here we go. Guys, what we're going to move toward with this tool is a simple one-page business plan. I'm going to show you real quickly how we use it. Once we draw it, we take the time, and again, I want to be clear. Today's not our day to spend 3 hours digging through the document you just did, but finding some time to do that would be really valuable. And then after you do, I want to show you how this tool can be used, because it's designed to lead you toward it. Our outcomes are simply going to be those specific and measurable outcomes that you're aiming for in 2019. You may have hundreds of things you're considering and dozens that you'd like. We've given you 4 lines because while I may not, agree with everything Gary Keller has ever said, I love the one thing. I love the focus on the one thing. And when we are really clear about a limited number of essential outcomes, our opportunity to achieve those is going to be much greater. So again, keep them in the SMART goals frame. Everybody familiar with SMART goals? Specific, measurable, attainable, relative, and time-based. Time-based, this is 2019. What are we shooting for? Disciplines. Around the middle of this document, we've given you 6 disciplines. I'm a big fan of disciplines in a business plan because this tells me what I'm committing to in order for those outcomes to be possible. So if I believe that being a part of, let's just look at some of these things up here. If being a part of a brain trust is important, right? If working on my plan is important, if winning the prize is important. That's more of an outcome, I think. I don't think it's a discipline, but we can debate that. We can get there. If making more money, some of these things, filter through these and decide which are outcomes and which are going to be the disciplines that accelerate your potential to get there. And then be specific about those. Don't say things like make more calls. Be specific about what would I do in order to make the number of calls I need in order to get the number of leads I need to increase based on those numbers I reviewed when I did the review part. Because I figured out, this is exactly how many calls it takes for me to get a contract closed. When I've done that math, I know how many calls I need to make, and now it's just a matter of time blocking. And I set the discipline in place. Make your commitments based on your goals. Everybody has different goals, but the disciplines are going to be what you commit to. And my advice on this is make them non-negotiable. Because if your disciplines are negotiable, it's kind of like my call with Frank. Yeah, I'm going to do these things. Great. We'll talk in 2 weeks. Yeah, I haven't done those things. Then we probably don't have a lot to talk about today. And you probably have something you should be doing that's way more valuable than us repeating the conversation we had 2 weeks ago. Let's talk again when you got those things finished. And let's talk about what you learned from them to keep getting better. Disciplines are hard, but they're what's necessary. And then some of us at the bottom need to make some improvements. These are a little different than disciplines. They are specific things you do, and then you complete them. So for instance, when I talked about contacting your database and really getting ahead of this message around what people are going to do to reposition their equity in 2019 and 20, and making sure you're present, not letting your CRM do the work, but actually being in front of them with phone calls and reaching out to set appointments, having the conversation, showing them how the numbers work. Well, one of your improvements may be, I've got to get my database up to speed to be able to do that. I don't have all my info in one place, or that's not an efficient thing for me to do. So in order for me to accomplish the discipline of carving out 90 minutes on a Friday to make those calls, I've first got to get that database actually current in one place. And guys, don't make it complicated. If a spreadsheet is your database, phase 1, it's better than no database at all. You can move toward the bright, shiny, sexy CRM that you wish you had. Start with what you've got. That's a project improvement. Questions on the one-page business plan on how this is designed to work. The other document we gave you is a Realtor Business Planning Worksheet. It's a more detailed path to get to that simple business plan, because some of you benefit from chunking down the numbers before you pick the outcomes because you're not really sure. You haven't actually done that. And if you have, this won't be as valuable of a step because you already know all of these things. But look down the left column here in terms of knowing your numbers. These are just 11 examples. We could come up with more, but these are 11 really important numbers to know. Average commission per unit for the last 12 months. Average sales price for the last 12 months. Your contract to closing ratio, right? The number of leads you really need in 2019 to achieve your goals. These are all mathematical opportunities to run those numbers before you build the plan. So you'll see the document is really just designed in 3 pages to get you to the 1. Know those numbers, break them down in terms of the disciplines it would take to get there through the whole year, and then what we do with that 3rd page is we just simplify it and say, well, let's just get started. Back to that simple 1-page business plan. Yes?
Do you happen to have that, or does Frank have that in?
Electronic? Yep, so you can, it's a fillable PDF. We can share that with you. Absolutely. Happy to do that. Happy to do that. Yes?
You know, it's interesting, everyone has these sort of top sheets where it's like, how many leads do you need, what's your conversion rate? And they're all really good questions, and I feel like I'm pretty good on the analytics side of my business and looking at the leads we're generating, what we're spending, all that. But that's an area that, like, I just have never had good, you know, we have Facebook leads, and those are different than Google leads, and those are different than Realtor.com, you know, and it's like, it's really hard. I find that to be difficult to really boil
Quantify
down.
it.
Especially maybe it's because we're a small business. Maybe if we were a really big shop with, like, you know, 10 or 20 or 30 agents, you start to get a more normalized numbers that you can look at.
Mm-hmm.
So when it's more like 1 or 2 people, what do you think about the lead part of it? Because it's really, I don't know, I feel like it's mental masturbation on that part of it, to be honest with you. The lead side of it.
I don't want to quote that personally, but I understand his point.
Yeah.
Sorry, on the video. That's all good. So here's the advice here's the advice I give on that. But it's not meant to be here's the answer, right? But here's what when I have a really clear definition of what a lead really is, I tend to have a narrower approach to that than if lead means a lot of different things. So here's a good example. Anybody ever work with Zillow? Okay. That is going to look a lot different than anybody ever done a first-time homebuyer seminar? Yeah. Or an ultimate open house, my friend Garrett? They're going to look different. Leads are going to look different. So picking a benchmark, a standard for when it becomes a lead. So I'll give you a for example and see if this helps narrow it a little. So if you and I are working together, and I'll play the lender role, you play, sorry if I'm hitting the mic there, and you play the realtor role. I consider the lead that I'm going to track for this number once the human being involved has raised their hand in some way, shape, or form, phone call, text, email, showed up at my office, something to say, hi, can you help me find out what I'm qualified for? At that point, it becomes a lead. Prior to that, we might have a name and a number and somebody who's shown some interest. I consider that to be your referral because you're trying to refer them to me, for sure. But a referral becomes a lead when the real human being says, hi, I'm Mr. Smith, can you help me? In one way, shape, or form. That way I can somehow narrow opportunities into a lead funnel. Because before the lead, I've got all kinds of different opportunities, and you're right, they are all different kinds of shades and colors, and that's how I choose to do it. I don't know if that helps.
No, it does.
Define what a lead means to you. What other questions do you have about making a simple business plan? Yeah.
You say diversify your lead source, but the question is how much diversification?
Diversification?
You said diversify your lead source or diversify your activities, but the question is how many different activities?
Yeah, great point. I never want to boil the ocean, so that's a great point. You don't want to be just all things to everybody and expect to be effective. I look for a few places. When I look at my unique value proposition, I often find where my best diversification strategies are. So if I'm a math-oriented person, for example, my lead diversification might include people in financial services, accounting, business, HR managers, if I'm going to that side of the equation and doing work for folks that have corporate clients. I might work for people who are more that way, if I'm wired that way. So diversification, but not scattered. Does that help? Yeah. Who's already got their plan put together? Go ahead, Frank.
Is there a normal number of diversification outlets? I think that's also part of the question too. So is it like average of 5, like that's what's normal to focus on? Because if you go outside of that, it gets too much.
Yeah, so when I look back at my 2018 numbers, I'm looking at where are my leads coming from currently, and where am I investing my time currently. So in that pruning example, I'm trying to make sure that where I'm investing my time is high ROI at first. And if I already notice that I've got good diversification, they're not all coming from I'm totally locked in with a builder, or I'm totally locked in with an insurance guy, or I'm totally locked in with my, whatever that category is, I will tend to look for 3 to 5 at most in terms of referral sources. But if I already find, that means I'm looking for new opportunities. If I already have good diversification from 3, I'm not looking to, pick the top 2 and cut the bottom. I may have good diversification there, and now I'm going out really hunting just for 1. So I'm not always, as wide as 3 to 5. It all depends on where's the quality of my lead business coming from today based on the amount of energy I'm putting into it. But I find 3 to 5 partners in the referral category is about as many as you can manage. Because from a relationship standpoint, you want to maintain authenticity and a genuine relationship. I mean, if we're working together, I want to make sure that I actually know you, know your plan, know what matters. I can't do that with 25 people. Can't do that. So I tend to focus on 3 to 5 really good referral partners. Okay, in the spirit of information overload, when the room gets like this, guess what that means? We turned on the fire hose and we're trying to drink too much. So I'm going to press pause and just kind of recap for you so that you guys can have a chance to breathe, network, and visit a little bit and still get on with the rest of your day. I brought tools for you that were designed to get you started, but not necessarily get finished. I just wanted to provide these guys an opportunity to give you some resources to approach business planning a little bit differently in 2019. I would recommend that if that review process is going to be valuable for you, you spend a good 90 minutes on that tool alone, that packet that I gave you. That you spend a good 30 minutes alone figuring out the business plan all by itself. And then once you have that, be prepared to share that with somebody. If you're in a business partnership, that's going to work. But maybe there are others in your life that can help sharpen that tool. Having an outside perspective, I believe that was one of the main things somebody came looking for. Find someone who can help you sharpen that tool. And don't forget those tips that I tried to give you. They're not the only tips, but have a UVP. Make sure that somehow your message reflects how uniquely you're approaching all the hard work you're going to do. And prune. Cut out the things that aren't working. It's not all just lead diversification and scatter. Let go of the things in your business that don't have any mathematical evidence that they're producing fruit for you.
I think business and people.
Product, process, people, basically anything that starts with a P. That seems to be the answer. Yeah. Guys, I know this is a lot. If business planning were super duper fun, everybody would do it. What I'm trying to do is eliminate the PowerPoint, the spreadsheet, all of the bells and whistles, and get it down to a document. Because imagine this, when this is what you're left with in 2019, this stays in your portfolio, hangs on your wall, wherever you see it, and that's the main thing. And that's going to define whatever theme 2019 is going to be all about. That's your bullseye. Stay focused on your plan, and hopefully that makes things a lot easier in a world that's got all this stuff going on. Because if you're going to tackle the market ahead of you, focus and execution are key, and I just wanted to give you a tool that I felt would keep that simple. Because complexity is always going to be the enemy of profitability. So when all this exercise is done, 1 page. Keep it simple. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.